Hello LinkedIn, me again. Back in the studio today after last week's antics out in the golf course. And it seems that quite a few people actually quite like seeing it out in the golf course because the weather was nice and there was a few jolly fellows even though we hadn't even started yet. Kevin Jopp. So it was good to see that he was there. He was very merry on the tee, and then you should have seen him at the end. It was quite funny, Stephen. So thanks for watching today's show. As always, we're going to give a big shout out to the two people that kind of make this happen, which is Bow Mango Media. Andrew, give us a pat in the back, give us a wave, and then Grow Coffee, who are our sponsor, Stephen. So, Stephen, thank you, Amelia. So, Amelia's a superstar, by the way. Right, she's in there giving us a thumbs up. So, from Grow today, just get Grow in my cup. Stephen has been healthy, so he didn't want a cake. So what we've done is we've bought a cake anyway, and I'll get to one of the wins. So show them with your cake, Stephen.
Oh, hang on, my cake is somewhere over here. And where are we, camera? There we go. That one.
Go up a bit, up a bit, up a bit. There you go. Honeymoon slice. One of the show's favourites.
So that can be cut into pieces for the kids, surely?
Yeah. Well, if you've not met my kids, the first one that gets their hands on it's ravishing it. And then I've got, and obviously, sorry,
Jamie,
I forgot. I know, well, something's missing. So there's two of those wee caramel cookie things, and as you can see, Sonny's already had a bit of it, and he's, I think he's wanting some more. So we've also got Sonny on the show with us today. Say hello, Sonny. Sonny's come in, he's having a wee day with his dad, so deciding just to have a chill day on the couch. So, as you all know, the show's about things that I think could be beneficial to businesses. So I'm very, very happy to say that I've got Stephen Turner next to me, who is the CEO, is it class the CEO? That's the CEO of Net Zero Nation.
Part of the team is how I normally say it.
Part of the team, aye, but he's the boss, right? So Stephen runs Net Zero Nation, and anybody that follows us knows about the interaction and the partnership that we've got with Net Zero Nation and how big advocates we are about the Net Zero Accelerator being beneficial to businesses. So thought, no point me just telling about it, so we'll get Stephen in to tell us about it and talk about the Net Zero Accelerator programme, some of the good that it's done for businesses, some of the great impact that it's brought, and see where the conversation goes.
That's great, and it's good to get a positive bit when so much of what you hear about net zero is either not understanding it or completely deliberately misinterpreting it. So it's good to get a positive story out there.
Yeah. So tell us firstly, what's Net Zero Nation all about?
So before I even got involved in it, Net Zero Nation...
Oh, sorry, 2 seconds. Oh. Just a quick one, because obviously we had a wee issue with that mic a couple of weeks ago. Can somebody... Jamie Friends, right? So Jamie Friends is a new guy just started with us, right? So I was on a call with him this morning. He's like, I'll be watching this. Sitting in my couch, because he's working for me today. I'll be watching it, so I says I'd give him a shout out. So Jamie, can you tell me if you can hear Stephen all right? Put a message in the chat to say that you can hear him.
I'll try and say something so you can pick up, or I could do a little Stan, what's his name? But that's not for the youngsters. You don't want that. None of us want that, and especially if you want the dog to stay. Are we getting a thumbs up?
I think so. Go for it. Just keep talking. Let's go.
So I'll just carry on unless someone tells me to stop and assume that we're going. I wasn't around at the start of Net Zero Nation, although weirdly I was at one of their first meetings, but I was there in the background. It was during COP26 in Glasgow, so 2021, and a group of people thought, how do we get a lasting legacy from this? You probably know as much of that backstory as I do.
I was supposed to be there, but I can't remember why I couldn't make it, because I was supposed to be there speaking at that.
I was living in Glasgow at the time, and then there was a big event in Falkirk, which I didn't get to. But, you know, what was the idea? How could we make sustainability accessible to smaller businesses? And it certainly started out with this idea of an accelerator. And we're both business people. We're not climate scientists. So what do we know? We know that if you measure things, then you start to get a handle on them, you can manage them and make a change. So a program was put together that took the ideas around sustainability, gave companies access to software to log and measure the carbon in their business or the environmental impact of their business, and then gave them a series of peer learning activities where they could work together with carbon accountants who really understand this stuff, produce a set of carbon accounts, produce a carbon action plan to reduce their carbon over a period of time, and then work together and learn from each other about how sustainability is inside their business and can be a benefit to them. It's evolved since then, and I guess that we can get into a bit more chat around some of the motivations for some of the companies to get involved. But certainly in the early days, we were enormously backed by a number of local authorities and people who are passionate about the same thing, and we brought these groups of quite different companies together. And then latterly, we realized that actually the benefit, if you got involved in a supply chain for a single company, gave it another element as well within that peer learning. So in terms of what the program is, it's a way that companies can work together as a group to get carbon accounts, carbon reduction plans, and can start to understand what it means when you get asked in a tender or a bid, talk to us about your carbon.
Yeah. One of the things that I've always said about the program is so for people who maybe don't understand carbon in their business and stuff like this, if you're involved in most industrial type sectors, you will know what continuous improvement is.
Yeah.
And for me, that's what the program is. It's not you just got a set of carbon accounts. It's not you get a report done. What you're doing is you're on a continual improvement journey for a period, for basically forever, looking at how you can make your business more sustainable. And everybody thinks that that's right. Okay, we're just taking out waste. We're just doing this. It's not. It's all about looking at how you can be more efficient at what you do, and your most continuous improvement programs and your Kaizens and your kind of green belts, yellow belts, all that kind of stuff, your Lean Six Sigma stuff. That's all about looking at usually kind of productivity improvements. What you're looking at with this is you're looking at how you can get the same productivity, if not better, but reducing the inefficiencies within that process, and that might be power, waste, time, whatever that goes with it, and every one of them is money.
And you look at my background. So I was involved in board advisory work, high growth companies, and particularly internationalization. But all of those things were about companies that made it work, changed their culture, and they got the benefit from having lots of people in their business all trying to do a common thing in a way that pulled them together, and that made the company better, and put very, very simply. And if you want to take one look at what sustainability is, it's efficiency. How can we be more efficient across our whole organization? Because if we're more efficient in obvious ones, energy use, how people get to something, how long something spends in a process, we're reducing the carbon at the same time. Definitely. And that's certainly a lot easier to get your head around than we all live on a big ball that won't be able to support us all if we don't get the climate working. That's critical, but we don't understand that as much. We'll take it that the scientists are onto something. Yeah. But ultimately, you could argue to do this whether there was a climate benefit or not. It's good for your business.
100%. It's just a different way of doing it. Sorry, can you hear Steve? Everything's fine? Okay, just good before we
go through the third wall.
I just need to make sure that everybody can hear you. Because I see poor Robert Allen, when he was in, nobody could really hear him, but his chat wasn't that good anyway. Sorry, Robert.
Poor Robert.
No, so this is where I think we see it a bit differently when we're looking at it all from a business point of view, and we've spoke about it together, where the saving the planet is the tip of the iceberg, but all of the other business benefits that you can achieve from it, which is increased profitability, brand awareness, customer engagement, talent engagement, all of these things, because the world is changing. You either change with it or you get left behind.
No, it is. And you've got the two levels. You've got the politicians and the scientists, and that's pretty straightforward. You can go and look into it endlessly in your Keeling curves and your warming of the planet. None of that's rationally in question by anybody, and you can put that to one side. But then you've got what governments are actually doing, and that is they're trying to use supply chains to reduce the environmental impact that businesses and SMEs will take Scotland only. So if you look at Scotland's business emissions, over 75% of Scotland's business emissions come from the SME sector. Yeah. You can argue about how you measure that, but it's a lot no matter how you do it. And the way the government's decided to address that is to say supply chains can drive the change in smaller companies. What does that mean for me and you? It means that the big company that we want to sell to is going to start asking us what our carbon is.
Yeah. And we're seeing it. We're seeing it.
The last few weeks, we've seen the first tenders come out on Public Contracts Scotland that will go beyond 2030. So 2030 is a deadline in or a transitional point of reporting in the science-based targets. And the contracts that are being tendered for now that might go beyond 2030, they've started to change the rules. So in the past, you might get points on a tender for being good at sustainability, whatever that means in their book. That's becoming a pass-fail element now. If you can't make a credible story about or a credible narrative about what you're doing at sustainability, you can be out. And we certainly, you look at NHS, you look at one of our big partners, Forth Ports, they've very clearly said that they've got a deadline in 2027 and a deadline in 2030. And they're going to change the way they buy and who they buy from as a result of sustainability concerns.
Yeah, well, obviously, Jackie and her team were on this show, and it was great to hear that they're trying to drive the sustainability as a thing through their whole kind of business. But you're right, it's coming from the larger, and it will filter down to everyone. And it's, for me, when I first started that journey, and it was just kind of basically me and Kane taking in the business at the time, people are saying, why are you doing this? Because it's the right thing to do, and it's coming. Right, so I would rather know what I'm talking about when somebody comes and asks me than me going, oh, I'll need to go and find out. And that was what it was all about, was try to learn.
And it's because we try to be relentlessly positive.
Yeah.
But, probably 5 or 6 times this week, I've had a conversation with someone who says, I'm not just going to do it quite yet.
Aye.
And you say, well, if your competitor does it and you're both bidding for business, and that's the difference.
Yeah.
It's not a toss of a coin who loses the business. It's a reality. So, by all means,
See, when they say that to you, I'm not going to do it yet, you just go, how? And wait to see what they say. How?
I need to practice that.
How come? Come on. Don't give your crap.
You're upsetting the dog.
I know, sorry, man. Hey, sorry. And I think you're seeing, well, in fact, we'll go into some of the stats next. So, all the companies that have went on it, so we spoke yesterday about the percentage of reduction, the impact, intensity matrix reduction for the companies that have been continuing on after the first year of the programme.
Right. So people bear with me here, because there's caveats, and that it's not as bad as you'll get in proper money accounting, but in carbon accounting. So we've got 4 years of companies that have gone through programs. You were in one of the very first programs. So we've got some people who've got 4 sets of carbon accounts. Yep. So we took everyone who'd done what you call the benchmark year, the first year, and then reported the subsequent one.
Yep.
Now we have to adjust for a factor, and that's how much the business has grown or shrunk. So if your turnover might have gone up by a factor of 4 since you started, or a factor of 10. So there's going to be more carbon in your business because you're bigger.
Mm-hmm.
The good bit of that is someone didn't win that business, that you won it, someone else didn't, who doesn't care about carbon. Right. So that's good, right? So when you adjust it for the fact that you're bigger, we call it an intensity metric, we've got a comparison of how much carbon you had in 2023 versus 2024. Yeah. And we worked that figure out for the companies in our program. And there's been over 200 companies through our program. We've got over 160 live ones who are with us in the journey now. You take that figure, 2023 to 2024, and the reduction in the carbon impact for those companies was 23%.
No bad.
I'm gutted that we couldn't hit 24% in 2024, but there you go. That's the way numbers work.
That's right. We'll be 26% by 2026.
But the really interesting part of that is that I quite often go to London and to other locations to talk about what we're doing, primarily here in Scotland, although we have got some members in other places. And when I go to other places, the bit that shocks them is that we're actually doing something that's having an impact on carbon and not just talking about it.
Correct.
And because we measure, and everyone in our program has access to and uses the Notch carbon accounting software, who's a very instrumental partner in building the organization.
Yep.
We can pull data like that out because all of our members actually measure. We're not just saying words. We're not just jaw-jawing, I think is the phrase in the environmental world. We've got demonstrable impacts.
No. And obviously I've seen it. We are kind of into our fourth accounting year, obviously because of the way that our financial year works. So we've and I think it's the right way to do it, where you're actually looking at a key figure. So ours is per person in the business.
Yes.
So obviously when our first year we managed to capture a lot of what we class as low hanging fruit.
Yeah.
So in the first year we measured it, and 90% of our carbon was through people travelling to and from sites.
Yes.
So we said, well, there's an easy, quick one. Let's put everybody in hybrid vehicles.
Yeah.
So just doing that alone, and then changing a wee bit about the way that we travelled and starting to get travelling a bit less. I think our first year we had an overall decrease in 18%.
Yeah.
Overall, even though we were more than double the size we were, but our intensity matrix was down 50% per person.
Yeah.
So you're going that you know you're doing the right thing, and we're not at zero, but we're definitely trying to make a difference, and that's one of the key things for me in this whole thing. It's you heard it yesterday. People are saying, "Oh, we can't get this out of carbon out of business." That carbon out of business, you're never going to get it all out of your business just now, right? All you're doing is trying to see how you can make yourself better. Yeah. So I want to try and be better tomorrow than I am today.
Yeah.
And that's that. All of those small changes and small improvements will hopefully turn into
and this
a big
is
impact.
A long journey. So the Scottish Government's net zero target is 2045. They've got interim targets in between.
Yep.
I've already mentioned 2030. So we are here on a 20-year journey, and if we do it right, net zero emission doesn't need to exist in 20 years' time, and everyone will applaud that. But we're also doing that knowing that most of the technologies that will take a big chunk of our carbon out don't exist today.
Correct.
So there's no point in trying to waste energy on something we can't impact. What are the things that we can change right now that get us on the journey? And then how can we be talking in the right way and among the right people? So for everyone who's a supplier to ILSA Reliability, what journey can you encourage them to go on as part of that? And that's where the cascade happens. That's the impact that we can make.
Yep.
And we can't actually overly worry about the one that we can't make. We can just try and make sure that the environment's right. And things like today, where we just talk positively about what's going on against the backdrop of some negative stuff.
That's good. This is where you hear a lot of people being negative about it, and you're going, what is the negative in trying to make your business better? Right? And you can think what you want about the saving the planet, but who doesn't want to make their business more money?
Yeah.
And it's just, you got a lot of naysayers and all this kind of stuff, and I can't wait till actually we get Trump on the show, right? And we'll see.
He'll be over at some point.
When he comes over, I don't know, he'll be over to talk about Turnberry at some point. We'll get him on the show. Sure, well, Andrew, you've got the kind of connections, mate. Get him on the show and we'll say, right, Donald, you may not actually appreciate the world, but you like money, right? So see if we can make all those businesses that you've got 10% better off in the bottom line. Would that interest you? Bet you would think about it.
My team wrote a list of things I'd not to talk about today, and politics was there.
Okay.
Alongside the carbon impact of haggis I'd not to talk about.
How come? What's it? Has it got a big impact?
It's huge.
Has it?
It's
For haggis?
A kilo haggis is
like
3.4 kilos of carbon or something.
Where's the carbon come from? Because you have to drive up the country to then climb up a hill to catch it.
To catch the haggis and skin it and cook it. It gets cooked about 10 times. So
oh well.
But I've not to talk about that either.
Right, okay. So, well, we've obviously got some hotels that we're friends with that are currently measuring their carbon, so I'm going to ask them if they've been measuring the carbon in their haggis.
Let's see if we can get McShane's on here.
Aye, there you go. Good. See if we can get a freebie. So, with one of the things that I don't think a lot of people understand about the programme is how it works.
Yes.
Right, so let's talk a wee bit about how it works. So I'll say how I tell people, and then you can correct me. So I always say that the first year of this programme is about learning, right? Because there's so many different acronyms, ways of saying things, grey areas. I mean, I used to say, when I first started the journey, I would Google stuff about net zero.
Yeah.
And I would have more questions than I ever got answers. So it was to try and teach myself about what everything means. So I've always said that first year is about learning about what carbon is, how you measure it, what the greenhouse gas protocols are, blah, 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 blah. And then the second year is about when you can make an impact. and then hopefully going forward, year on year on year, you're making a difference.
And I think you're right. I think I would add just one thing to that. I think in addition to learning, you're getting buy-in. By learning, you're getting buy-in in the business, that there's something constructive you could be doing here that's positive.
Yeah.
So we'll very often, the people who come along to our sessions are the business owner.
Yeah.
But often in smaller organizations, in larger organizations, you'll get someone who comes along who's a bit further down in the organizational structure, and they might be in the sales or the commercial part, and they realize they only got 2 points out of 5 on a sustainability question on a tender. Hey, we'd better get on with working out why we're losing 3 points here.
Yeah.
And I think the second part you get is the buy-in. And I think practically the program's a relatively simple thing. There, you run these things. We've made some changes in the last 12 months, so we still very much are driven by peer learning. And I was in a session that you guys ran just yesterday, where groups of business owners will get together and they'll talk about the progress they've made, the challenges they've got, the things that are positive. And the benefit that they get from just being in a room with other people trying to achieve the same thing from other businesses is phenomenal. And yesterday we had an infrastructure and construction business literally sat next door to a bridal business, literally sat next door to an accountant. But they all got benefit from hearing each other's stories.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen in many places.
Yeah.
What normally happens is if a business is told you've got to meet this standard, they go, oh, another one.
Aye.
I've got construction line and I've got this IOSH thing and I've got I've got all these things I need to do. Why do I need another one? That doesn't happen in our sessions.
No.
People get really excited about what they're doing and how it's generating benefit. And that's probably the primary reason why I was really excited to get involved from a business point of view. From a personal point of view, got a room full of business people who are getting excited about the thing they're doing, and everybody wins. Who doesn't want to be part of that?
100%. And the thing is, you see people's mindsets changing as they go through that first year, because you get people that come along because my boss is telling me we need to do it, and I need to do this for a tender, I need to do this for that. You get some people that join at the beginning and they really, really get it. You get some people that join because they think it and then maybe know it's the right thing to do. Yeah. Some people are going because they're getting told to go.
Aye.
But what you see through time is, I'd say between the 6 and 8 months part of the programme, all these wee bulbs start lighting up in people, and what you've got is all these wee ideas, and then they'll implement something, and then they'll see a difference and a change, and you're going, this is actually making my life a bit easier. We're saving money, we're doing this, we're doing that. And that's when the value for me is. And the likes of what you're saying about the peer-to-peer part. See, when we had the North Ayrshire one.
Aye.
So see, when you're hearing all these people telling each other the good stories about things that they're doing, the buzz is amazing.
Yes.
Right? And you've got a hotel group telling you about all the cool initiatives that they're working on. Then you've got a bus company talking about how they are electrifying their whole fleet and they're going to be putting solar all over the place. And then you've got a kind of recycling business that's saying about how much they think they're going to save just by getting the guy to stop idling his forklift truck.
Aye.
And you're going, that's what it should be about. And it's a lot of the stuff that you're looking at isn't rocket science.
Every single session that I'm involved in, something surprises me. So we both sat in a session yesterday, and I think if we're both honest, and we won't name names, but one of the companies that was in that session, we were probably thinking, I'm not sure how much, there should be plenty in this, but I'm not sure how much they're getting out of this.
Yeah.
And that person sat in the session and went, we weren't sure what we would get out of this, but actually we started talking to our suppliers, and we changed a couple of suppliers, and actually things are a lot better, and we're quite excited about this now, and we're getting benefit.
Yeah, and what they said, because I didn't think the customers would be really that interested in it, but it works out that they are.
It does.
Because what we said is they're a business to consumer organisation, and I've always said our consumers at the stage now that they're buying based on you having a sustainability focus. And even in that one, it looks like they are.
Exactly. And if you and I were to put a list together, and because we've talked about this is good for business, but we haven't said how particularly.
Yeah.
And it'd be different for every business, but I think for a business owner, they're always going to first of all go, I saved some money.
Yes.
That nobody's not going to get excited about that.
Mm-hmm.
But I ran a session 2 weeks ago where one company went, I haven't had a problem recruiting staff this year because I had 12 young people company, because I wrote, we're on a sustainability program on the job advert, and I've not had that since before COVID. I've always struggled to get staff in, and that, it's not an obvious one that you think, but particularly with a younger generation, it's much higher up their priorities. And if you're thinking they're coming to Scotland to work for somebody, and somebody's advertising they're a sustainable business, you're going to go, I think I know something about their culture already. That might be a nice place to work. What other things have you spotted beyond those two?
With regards to benefits?
Yeah, the big benefits that people get.
Hunters. Absolutely.
Winning business?
Winning business, getting approved on customer vendor. So I'll give you one. So you've got a big, large global company, right? And you're trying to go in their vendor portfolio.
Yeah.
They've already got 3 companies that do what you do. They're not allowed to put any more on. They need to have something that's completely different. You turn around and go like that. Here is my sustainability approach. This is where we're taking in a race to zero journey. This is all the things we're doing to try and be better for the planet, help clients save money, blah, blah, blah. You give them all that. There is a differentiator. Because I guarantee the 3 companies that are on there are only doing that. And we've got 2 examples where we managed to go on approved vendor list, and when they said to us, the engineers wanted us on, but we can't get you on because it needs to be something different. Here, go and show them that. And that got us on.
And what was that?
That was our report.
Yeah, so your carbon reduction.
So our carbon report, we race to zero strategy on it.
Yeah.
Then basically a bit of spiel about what our sustainable approach is within our business, and how we're trying to focus on improvements going forward. So putting them there, that then differentiated us from others that were already on the system. So we're no longer just going in there as a business that's trying to do condition monitoring for them.
Yeah.
We can then credibly prove that we're a business that's trying to reduce their downtime, help them save the planet, and save them money.
And because of their Scope 3 responsibility, if they're a larger company, also reduce their carbon.
Yeah. And again, so we've got one just now, and that would actually just said the EcoVadis kind of form thing to do for them. You see, when these things go out to me, I actually get quite excited, right? Because I'm like, yes, because that means that people that are sitting high up in the kind of procurement teams in these businesses are going to see how good we're doing and all the good stuff that we're doing. Because these people sometimes don't get to see that. You're trying to do all the right things and make sure you're doing the right things for in so many different ways. But it's not that you can't go and say, oh, Mr. or Mrs. Procurement Director for the global procurement for X company, here's how good we are at this. But when you get those types of things come out, it's actually a chance to prove to them how good you're trying to do.
It's interesting. I was up at Newcomnock at Emergency One's fire engine factory 4 weeks ago now, and Stuart, who's their compliance manager and does all the sustainability stuff, told me that he brings out their carbon report and their reduction plan minimum once a week, sometimes 2 or 3 times a week, because it pushes the conversation where he wants it to go.
Brilliant.
And they're winning business because of it. The other interesting thing that I was in London for London Tech Week a couple of weeks ago, and I just happened to meet the owner of the hotel that I was staying in. And I said, how would you feel about being able to put on all the portals, because most of your bookings come through booking.com and all this. How would you like to be able to put the carbon impact per guest per room? And he went, that would be the most amazing thing I could do right now to make me different. Because at the moment, people are either going to choose me because I'm the cheapest or because I'm in the right location. So I'm actually seeing some consumer businesses, just from a marketing position, to want to be able to say, credibly, my carbon impact is this.
It's like, so we gave the example of Jack's Allstays. Yes. So anybody that's going to Millport, right, I'll give you Aaron, I'll be shouting him out, but anybody that's going to Millport, contact Jack's Allstays, right? Yeah. They've got wee pods that they've got there, and they are completely walking the walk, as they say, and practicing what they preach. They've got so many things. They've got a wee hedgehog hotel, right? So cool. Right? The guys are brilliant, but they started, just 2 young lads, right? They started this business, and sustainability's been at the forefront of everything that they do. Yeah. They're now about to double the size of their business, and that's, people are attracted to them because of what they're doing. Yeah. But you've got a generational thing. So I'd imagine the people that their kind of main clientele will be under 30s, right? There'll be people who are kind of are thinking a bit differently and they want to go there because of the sustainability. And then we've got a load of bigger hotels as well, like so that are on this journey. You've got the Auchrani and Arran, obviously Simpsons have been on it as well. So there's these hotels that are trying to do it differently.
Yeah, we've got Mackay's Hotel further up north. They're part of one of our groups.
Doing Ray one, are they? In which I'll maybe need to look them up then.
I know, and we obviously try and make an effort to make sure all these companies have access to each other as part of the program, and we've got ways of doing that. The Arran one's just such a good example of where energy can generate more energy as well.
So for me, Arran was probably the Arran and Cumbria ones were probably the one that I was most excited about, because see the difference that we can make, and that will be done right, and we will make huge differences. Because every time you're on an island, anything that has to come back and forward to the mainland introduces carbon. So if we can then help them find ways of keeping waste and everything else that's coming back and forward on that, wood, stuff like that, right? If that can all just be kept on the island, the impact is massive.
And they're really driven to be the first net zero island in the UK if they get in that position.
Right, we'll help them. Easy. So there's a lot going on with it. And this is, again, it's see some of these stories that that probably aren't told enough.
Yeah.
And what as we're sitting going like that to everybody that's been on this cohort, shout and tell the world about what you're doing, right? Because there's companies out there that are doing some real fantastic things, but they're not shouting enough about it. I mean, they'll be marketing the fact that they've got this new super duper product. Great, right? Tell the world how you've been able to make that super duper product more sustainably and cost effectively than you did before.
Yeah, and it's both of those things hand in hand. Taking carbon out, but also being more efficient while you're doing it is, that's the holy grail. But we hear it all the time. It's not like that's the rarity. That's the rule, not the exception.
100%. And the likes of, see when, because there's now a few companies that are kind of past their first year and their second, third year. So I've spoke to a few, but you're obviously speaking to more of them. So what's the feedback for them? What are they just there because they've seen the commercial benefits, or just they've seen the benefits altogether?
I'm seeing a shift in it.
Right.
So it's weird. The way you look at this, you could say we've made a gym for carbon. You just pay to be a member of something, and if you turn up to the classes, you'll get slimmer on carbon. Or you can say I've joined a community. So the renewals, sort of where companies have decided it's the right thing to keep going with us, have overwhelmingly been because they're seeing a benefit that exceeds the cost of being part of the program. Yeah. But the other important fact is they're seeing that they're getting asked for it more and more, and therefore it's not going away. So I think everybody has this feeling that they're slightly ahead of a curve here.
Yeah.
And that there's a lot of people who, when they're asked what their sustainability program is, their friend ChatGPT will help them write something that might get points, right? And you and I both meet people all the time who go, "I've got that sorted. I know what I'm doing with it."
Yeah.
But we know in reality that against how it's going to be measured, and we ran some workshops on avoiding greenwashing or positioning that greenwashing thing.
Greenwashers.
But some of them genuinely think they're doing it.
But the problem you've got, though, is you've got people out there, consultants that are taking a lot of money and talking absolute nonsense.
So I had a conversation with a company a couple of weeks ago, and they've for the last 3 years have had a consulting company come in and do their carbon accounting, and what they couldn't get their head around was that if they were going to work with us, we would teach them how to do it themselves. They just expected that the whole of the industry was centered on keeping them dependent on using someone else to generate it and having to pay, I think in their case, over £30,000 a year for it was quite a sizable business, but £30,000 a year for someone else to come and do their carbon, at which point they can go and bid for new business with their head held high, saying, "Hey, we've got a carbon figure." And the bit I couldn't get across to him was, no, you do it. We teach you how to create the capacity to do it in-house and make it happen. And I think that's a big shift. And I think any new industry like this is going to have a mix of approaches. And different approaches will work for different people. But I see it every day. And as I say, we're about 165 active companies within the program right now. they're all enabled to do this themselves inside their own business and not be paying a consultant to come in and do it.
I think there's a bit of me sitting goes, I mean, I wish I wasn't such a nice guy, because I could go and do that 30 grand, no bother, and give them a good report. But this is where people say, obviously, why do we do what we're doing in this field? And it's because it's the right thing to do.
Yes.
Right? And back to what's talking about, like North Ayrshire, even the likes of that one yesterday, all of the cohorts that we're part of, you're helping people.
Yes.
And when folk ask about me, and obviously our business is similar to that as well, but me personally, see if I can see that somebody's getting some sort of benefit out of something, right, and you're doing something that can help them, it's I just got a great deal of satisfaction from it.
No, I think you're right. And if you and I had a business that was just, hey guys, we'll keep 4% of all the benefit you get, we'd be doing okay. The dog food would be getting bought. There'd be cakes on the table just off that.
He'd probably be sitting here. He'd be sitting there with his gold collar on, loving life. And but just I'm going to track back a wee bit.
Yes.
So you're talking about the attracting talent bit.
Yes.
Right. So that's been something that's hugely influential for us. So we've probably got, I don't know, I'd say at least maybe 4 in the team now that have been attracted to us because of our culture.
Yes.
In fact, we've actually, that's some nonsense. We've got a lot more than that. But from a net zero point of view, and like so Audrey's a great example.
Yes.
I mean, Audrey could be working for a much larger business than us.
She was.
She was, yeah. But because of what we stand for and the approach to this, that's what attracted Audrey to us as a business. Yeah. And you're just going, there's some people out there that are real golden nuggets, right, that want to come and work for you if you've got the right vision and approach.
And I think it's 2 parts. I think the culture just shines through. If you're actually doing something that's for good, people recognise that that's a place they want to be. Yep. And there are some people who are really driven by sustainability and recognise that we've got a responsibility to other generations to at least have an attempt to be sat on a planet that's inhabitable in the way that we're used to. Yeah. And some people are really driven by that. You see it more heavily in the younger generations, but not exclusively. Yeah. And I do think that you see it making an enormous difference. And a lot of companies won't automatically go by that. And we talk about this all the time. Scottish businesses are not amazing about shouting about what they're doing well.
Yeah, I know.
I was out in New York for Tartan Week and some other work that I'm involved in. I couldn't catch the train on that one. I did have to fly, but I did fly economy, and that's lower carbon, right?
Should have been swimming it.
I got stopped in the street on 3 occasions because I had a Net Zero Nation hoodie on at the time. It was a bit cold in April. I got stopped by people going, talk to me about what you do, because it said people, planet, profit, which is an unusual way to go about talking about sustainability. But every one of those people that stopped me, I would say, was under 30, and they were genuinely interested, and a couple of them were interested in how can we make something like that happen over here. So regardless of what other backdrop there is, you know.
But obviously, I don't know if you were in when we had the conversation about my son. So Lucas, he's obviously 16, and when I was telling him, Lucas is going to be joining the business after summer, but I was telling him about the net zero stuff that we do. Yeah. I said to him, but Dad obviously puts it to them in a business capacity on how it can make them more profitable. He's like, but why are you doing that? It's the right thing to do. Yeah. The people should be thinking that. He says, you shouldn't be trying to change your wording and your approach, because that is what they should be doing. And there's an expectation. Now, don't get me wrong, he's probably a bit different because he just thinks if it's either black or white, there isn't a grey area. But there's a lot of kids in his age, which in 10, 15 years' time are going to be people that are going to be decision makers in businesses. Yes. So it's coming.
And it really is. And I guess you've got 2 things that have happened at the same time. You've got these sort of social media tunnels that people are pushed down. And you can either be utterly fatalistic, oh, it's hopeless, or you can be completely the other way and go, we'll sort it. You can ignore it, and social will drive that. But there is that middle ground that goes, no, we can make a difference. We might not be able to make all the difference now, but carbon capture technologies will move in. We've, what technology did we not have 20 years ago that we've got now? That's a big list.
All right.
What technology will we have in 20 years' time? I'm assuming that'll be every bit as big a list, if bigger.
Yeah.
So I can stay optimistic about this in a way that maybe some people struggle with. And the younger generation, 20 years' time, I'm heading towards the walking stick if we're lucky.
That's fine. Just be hydrogen powered hoverboards. I'm still waiting for the hoverboard to come into Back for the Future. Honestly, can't wait. As I say, that was my whole growing up. Couldn't wait for a hoverboard.
You were promised that as well.
I know I was. I see that bloody, what's his name, George Lucas.
Or the Jetsons, could be either.
Either or, but it saves me walking.
Absolutely.
Obviously, you guys have got the rolling accelerator that runs. So that's something, because we're going to be going forward. We're going to have kind of two options for companies. Is that correct? So there's a rolling accelerator which people can join at any time, or then you have a kind of cohort peer-to-peer, which is the stuff that we do. So do you want to tell people, because there might be people saying, right, how do I join up to this? How do I get part of it?
I didn't say the obvious bit in answer to your first question. The first question is, what's Net Zero Nation? It's an organisation that exists for two things. We're building a community and we're taking carbon out. Anything that doesn't contribute to one of those two things, you need a really good reason as to why you're doing it. So let's put it against that context. We'll work with anyone who's helping take carbon out and build a community. Now, one of the really strong elements that we see where the community gets built is in these peer sessions. Now, that can work in a couple of different ways. We are all businesses from East Ayrshire, North Ayrshire, South Ayrshire, Midlothian, Caithness, wherever. And we have a commonality through geography. And by physically getting those people together in a room, there's an actual magic that happens. Have a look at the Net Zero Nation website. Is it netzeronation.eco is the website. So have a look there. You'll see pictures of people smiling and laughing. They're not posed. They're people who are contributing to a session, right?
Because I was telling jokes, wasn't it?
It was because you were being funny. It wasn't. Right. So you've got those peer-to-peer sessions, and there's a ton of value out of that. But as an organisation, we also want the ability to grow, and we want the ability for other people to join in. And we've started out as a Scottish organisation, but we want to be a bigger movement than that. So we created a version of the programme which we call the Rolling Accelerator, which is delivered online first. It's the sessions are Teams-based calls. Other video services are available. Zoom. Microsoft want to sponsor us at any point. We're open to a discussion on that.
Only if they can get it to work better.
Or Google, AWS, Zoom. We'll take it.
See if any of them want to sponsor, you need to come, right? We'll do a trial and tell you whether you're getting it.
But so the program itself can be delivered online. That allows us to run a program as we kicked off this week. We're going to do our best to recruit a cohort of companies who are in the northeast, as in the northeast of England, the Tyne Valley. We're looking to put a program together in London, and they will be primarily delivered online. Everybody still joins our online environment, which is where all of our resources and all of our events are. But the ability to physically bring people together is the preferred option, but it's not always the option. So the ability to have that rolling accelerator where companies have a bit more control about when and how they turn up, and if they happen to not be able to make a particular thing because something significant's happening, it means they can catch up, and it's a bit less rigid, and that's been quite well received.
No, good. And what we're trying to do, so we are looking, for me, the peer-to-peer is the bit that I like. I'm a sitting down across a table talking. And
you're a social animal.
I'm a total social animal, mate. I love it. Honestly, you're sitting down, having a blather. Okay, so that's my thing. And the rolling thing, I think it could be great, but I think it's what one's for one's, no for the other, and stuff like that.
Of course,
100%.
The other thing, and you may have a company who are part of one of your peer-to-peer groups who go through a capital event, or they're organising something huge and they just can't participate for 8 weeks. It gives them a chance to catch 100%. Up and then still rejoin. So I think flexibility, everybody wins.
No, good. And just a quick one for the Ayrshire companies, because Audrey's going to be reaching out to all of the people who have either already graduated and in their year 2 or year 3, or companies who have maybe been part of it, have maybe fell away. And she's going to, because we're going to try and create a decarbonising Ayrshire or something she's calling it. I can't remember what it is. But trying to get all these companies together for people who want to be still part of that peer-to-peer, and that's not going to be everyone, but seeing if we can try to build something that's a bit special down here. And then if we can make that work, then let's see if we can do it elsewhere.
And I would extend it beyond that. It's not just the people who have been involved. Anyone who's watching this or hears about it otherwise, get involved.
Yeah, well, we are going to be... So Audrey's going to be going out there and trying to recruit the next cohort for Ayrshire. And I think what we're going to do is we're just going to open up to the whole Ayrshire, and then no matter where you come from, if you can, whether it's south, east, north, and we're just going to try and do that, and then people will come to us and then see where it goes.
We're not going to turn anybody away, as I say. We're here to take Cabinet and build a community.
Aye.
And quite often I'll meet people who've tried to do it another way and they just hadn't realised we exist.
100%.
And I think that if you try and put together what we do, it's actually going to cost you more money to do it than we've managed to put it together as
100%. And this is the value for money that you get is phenomenal. And you get some people that are, it's this. I mean, it's not a lot when you look at if you embrace it properly and do it properly, it's nothing. Down here we obviously had what's the university in here?
UWS.
So UWS did a thing maybe 4 years ago when we were on our pilot course, and that's some of those people that were part of that are now wanting to come and join the accelerator, right? And it's just because they've been kind of alone, right? And you know yourself, when you're the sustainability person in your business, half the time nobody wants to talk to you.
A single point of blame.
That's it. Nobody really wants to talk to you. So they're having that kind of community feel between nation, between whether they join the peer-to-peer. They've just got other people that are thinking the same as them, whereas they're maybe in their business right now and their kind of thoughts are a bit alien to everybody else because everybody's just focused on producing or making or building whatever they're doing, and they're trying to do it in a different way. So that community thing, and it also gives people a kind of sounding board for ideas that they've got. That somebody in that community's probably done it somewhere.
And it's interesting when some of the sort of slightly bigger companies, and we've got companies that are from one-man bands right through to companies with hundreds and hundreds of staff inside the group. But when those companies ask for people to volunteer, part of a sustainability steers things across the companies, that's a busy room on that. Lots of people put their hands up saying, no, I want to be part of that.
Well, remember we obviously had Barron down there when they had a team, and their team was great. They was sitting there and they were completely focused, and some of the stuff that they come up with was brilliant.
And we see that over and over again, whether it's, I know the guys at Booth Welsh have been here, and so there are companies doing some really good stuff. But when they go to the staff and say, who wants to be involved, that's not an echo coming back. That's people saying, yeah, I do.
Well, Booth Welsh have got a full department now that's all about people and culture. And I'm going to say it again. So, Amy's statement, right? So, can you remember what that statement was, Andrew? I know it. Right. Culture eats strategy for breakfast.
Oh, it's a Peter Drucker's favourite, yes.
Brilliant. Well, Amy said that, went, I'm going to say that all the time. I'm going to steal that. But it's true.
Yeah.
But it's true. And they're doing an absolutely fantastic job of building a team that's focused on the people and the culture of their business.
Yeah.
And you see it all the time. I mean, as I say, that's who we want to be when we grow up.
Absolutely.
I usually say Martin's who I want to be when I grow up. But
what are you going to do when you grow up, Jamie?
Well, I don't know.
I don't think it's happening for me.
No, I don't know. If I ever grow up, that's a challenge.
Exactly.
So I think we could sit here and talk about it all day. Anything else you want to go on? Because I think that's us. We are 18 minutes over time.
Oh, well done us. And unless there are any questions that have come from the viewers in the background.
Is there any, Andrew?
No, just it's loads of compliments, but no.
Anybody gave his abuse or anything? No. It's a first. Right. Last week I was getting pelters all over the place. So any questions? No. Everybody saying the could hear is okay.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Stereo.
I think the only thing I would say in here is come and talk to us, because we just can't get out to it. We're both running relatively small organizations, and we're trying to do the best that we can out here.
Yep.
But in reality, we're doing stuff that's helping other businesses.
Yep.
We're not just doing it for the good of our health. In fact, we're doing it because it's the right thing to do. There's no question about that. But if someone's sat out there and think they can help us, or they can get involved, or they can benefit
100%.
from it, I think you can probably find both of us very easily on LinkedIn or through other places. We're up for a chat. And if we've got a skew towards Esher-based businesses, I live in Esher myself, so I've got a vested interest in the economy doing well here, right? I know I'm in Stewart, which is not the...
Stewart's brilliant. Yeah. It's helped my son become the person that he is, the young man. But so, I don't know if... I'm not really on LinkedIn much, so I don't know if anybody will be able to find me.
I'm there. I'm kind of there. But I would say if someone's got an idea or someone wants to get involved, come and ask us, because that's why we're doing it, is for people to come and say, I want to get involved.
It's all about the community.
Absolutely.
And taking out carbon.
Carbon and community, that's all. It's all we're here for.
Right, we'll finish off on that. Stephen, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me along. I wondered if this was how you worked out where the bottom of the barrel, scraping the bottom of the barrel. But no, I've really enjoyed this, and I think it's been a good
we've got when's a full schedule up to, Andrew? It's up to the middle of August or something, isn't it? Aye. It's a place to be, mate.
By the way, the facility here is
how awesome is it?
No idea it existed out here, but great.
It's the guys have done an absolutely fantastic job. Everybody that comes in just says, wow. The first time, so Andrew showed it to me in a video, right? And I'm like, it looks all right. Right? Come in here, went, fuck. Oh, for goodness sake, this is amazing.
Trump uses that word now.
Does he? For goodness sake, does he? Right. So there has been a couple of the F-bombs been dropped in this show, and we're trying our hardest not to swear anymore.
I've been very good today.
You have been very good. So far, have I swore today, Andrew?
Just then?
I didn't say it. I said for goodness. So I managed to stop myself. But yeah, thank you very much. It's been a great conversation. Obviously, we speak regularly anyway, but I think this show's all about what can be done to help businesses.
Yes.
And for me, whether it's the Net Zero Nation Accelerator, whether it's whatever they do, just thinking differently about how you run your business and thinking in more down the sustainability route, whether that's sustainability, circular economy, any of these types of things that are there, will get a benefit from it. And we've got lots and lots of examples that can prove that. So for me, today's show was all about, hopefully people that are listening, anybody that's not already thinking about this, does start to think about it a wee bit differently. And if we can do that, then we're on to a winner.
And one story, just a company I spoke to just this week, they're a managed service IT company. And I said, how do you differentiate yourself? I said, that's really hard. Name one managed service IT company who leads with and focuses on how they do sustainability. And the answer was there isn't one. So if anyone out there is running a managed service IT company and you want a point of difference, you could be first up.
I know one that's doing it.
Get them to shout louder about it.
Right, okay. Do you want me to say it just now? Solutions on Demand. They're a managed IT business, I think. But I'm pretty sure it is.
But who's out there shouting about it?
I don't know. I need to actually have a wee chat with them, because they need to go and start shouting about it, because they are on the programme and they are.
And then they turn up at the door of any company who's thinking about their journey, and I've got 165 of them sitting live on my website right now, and say, I'm not net zero, but I'm on a defined, easily recordable journey as to how we're more sustainable.
Aye, and when you need to get to the stage that you're thinking your scope 3, there you go. Easy beans.
So I've 30 years in sales. I've never lost a single deal on price alone. I've lost plenty of deals, but I've never lost it on price alone. You put another positive into that equation, you've given yourself a much better chance of winning that deal.
Good stuff. 100%. Perfect.
Brilliant,
thank you, Stephen.
Thank you very much.
No, thank you, and we'll leave it there. Thanks, anybody that's still watching this, and if you're watching it back, and sorry, I meant to actually say, if you're watching it if you're listening on Spotify, it was going on, wasn't actually me and Stephen doing it, it was the dog. Thank you.
I'm glad you clarified that, Jamie. Thanks very much.
Is it on me?